Community is everything. We cannot live this life isolated. We can't be by ourselves. We have to be a part of some level of community. But community can be challenging because of lots of different reasons and things and all that. And so today I just wanted to record a short episode just talking about some ways that you can foster some Christian community.
Welcome to the You, Me, and Jesus podcast. On this podcast, I share all about my experiences growing up with God, growing into the calling that God has had on my life, and experiencing the supernatural. When you're listening to this, you're going to hear from me as well as many of my friends talk about all the experiences we have with God. Some of the things you're going to hear are going to make you go, "What? I cannot believe that happened." Other things are going to make you cry, and some things are just going to make you laugh. But you're going to hear all about how we experience God. The goal of this podcast is to help you hear God clearer, get closer to God, and experience all of the supernatural. And so thank you so much for listening to the You, Me, and Jesus podcast.
So welcome back to another episode of the You, Me, and Jesus podcast, where we talk about all things you, me, and Jesus, because it's you, me, and Jesus. And so today we're having a conversation about building Christian community. I also got to tell you in advance that I am a little sick, so I'm a little bit stuffy, a little bit, congested and what have you, but we are on the mend. So pray for your girl. Jesus, heal your girl. So we're talking about Christian community, and, I have had fair struggles with community. And for me, one of my biggest reasons why I've had trouble with community is because I move around. And sometimes I find myself just being like, God, can I just stay in one place forever? Because starting over is really, really, really hard. So if you're someone and you have moved to different places or you have gone to a new church, it can be challenging to develop a community. But also, one of the reasons why I think that many people are struggling with community in today's time is because of the last 4 years. When we look at what happened with COVID-19, all the things, like there were a lot of things that happened that we may or may not understand that has happened as a result of that. And one of those things is how we see community, how we do community, and then what happened with the community that we had before the crisis, with COVID happened. And when I look at, especially as a Christian, because this is a Christian podcast, obviously, for the most part, like the whole world kind of shut down. And unless it was deemed essential, it wasn't open. But then not only that, there was the fear of that you were going to die. It was just the fear that that's what was going to happen to you. So the last thing most of us wanted to do was to be in large groups. Like, we're like, I just don't want to be in a large space, especially because not knowing what this virus could do to us, but also if we got the virus and then we spread it, what it could do to other people. And so there was so much fear that went around with all that. Then, of course, with, what happened with COVID, like during that time frame, when George Floyd was murdered and it, all the different things that came up with that. Then there was the election 2020 and the church just being so divided with all of that, with people's complexity, like the human, the human, right? Because the human has all of its complexities, its beliefs and all that type of stuff. So it was like the perfect bad storm. Okay, the perfect bad storm. And all of that happened in 1 year. And then it just traveled for 2021, 22, 23, and all of them are different. But still, there is some consequences of it. When I think about the community that I had, for me, I've struggled with community because one, I work from home. I build my business from home. I don't have to go out into groups or like have coworkers. I haven't had that in years. So it's like I'm already alone. Two, I have moved with God the last couple of years. And so every time I go somewhere, I'm starting over. And I'm starting over in a new place without any coworkers, with just me and myself. And unless I can get into networking groups or get into churches and people really spend time getting to know me, I'm still kind of on the outs. Like for me, the past 3 years, I've been here in San Diego, and I intentionally started going like, okay, I've got to get into community. But even in that, it's still challenging because you still got humans. You still have humans and their ways, their thinking, their tight-knit circles, their fears, their anxieties, their worries. Just, we all have these different things or whatever. And so it can be extremely, extremely challenging. So I wanted to offer you some of the things that I am doing and have been doing to develop community. It's not been easy. It's not easy, but it is worth it. Okay. So I'll give you an example of here are some of the things, because I'm getting ready to move from San Diego back to Houston this May. So excited about that. So excited about that. If you live in Houston, let me know. So excited about that. So here are some of the things that I am doing to build community. First things first, I'm in a local kind of business entrepreneur community, which is called Entrepreneurs Accelerator, which is a step down from a group that's called EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization. EO, you have to make a minimum of $1 million, and then, that's their network. And then EOA, you have to make a minimum of $250 up to $999,000 or what have you. So I'm in EOA here. I reached out and said, hey, who do y'all know in Texas? I want to start making friends before I get to Houston. And they were like, got it. They connected me with some people. And then there is like a WhatsApp group I asked in there. There is a Facebook group I asked in there. And all these people have just already started telling me, oh, I'm here. Oh, I'm here. And I've slowly just started having conversations with different people. Next, I have been building an online community for the last 8 years or so. And I recently had to go to Houston to go find an apartment, obviously, because I haven't been there in 5 years. I don't know where I want to live. So I knew that I was going to go. And so I posted on the social media, was just like, hey, I'm coming to town. Is anybody in Houston want to have dinner on Tuesday night? I have availability on Tuesday night. I leave Wednesday night. And I had like 50 people respond. I was like, oh, there's people that want to have dinner. This is great. So then somebody offered to coordinate it for me. And I'm like, great, that's amazing. So they coordinated it, and we ended up having like 15 people show up. And it was, for me, it was amazing. Now, some of them, I don't know how they felt in terms of like, how do I say this? Okay. I have been building a personal brand online for the longest time. So I think that maybe some people see me as somebody they look up to. Maybe I'm social media famous. I don't see myself that way, but the potentially that's it. And so we had all these people said they want to have dinner. And so I was just kind of like, I'm thinking I want to go make some friends, But of course, when I got there, I could tell that some of them are like, oh, it's Kenya. And I'm like, listen, I'm not like that. I need to make friends. I need to make friends. Let's be friends, And they were like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I want to make friends. And so that was my way of going like, hey, I want to make some friends, right? And they were like, okay, all right. So then I knew that I was coming, and I used to be in this, always had this group chat with my old neighbors in Houston. And I texted them and said, hey, I'm coming to town on this date. You guys want to have dinner? Yes. Perfect. Let's go to our favorite spot. It's this favorite chicken spot called Gus's World Famous Fried Chicken. I rarely eat fried chicken anymore, but that's our place. Like we were obsessed with that place. And so we went there, and it was like, we had a great time. And then from there, I'm just like, hey, who do you guys know that I should be friends with, right? The next thing is I go to a really small church here in San Diego, and I told them that I was moving back to Houston. They were like, oh, okay, well, we know some people, know a church in Houston. We can connect you. And I'm like, great. So they are starting to connect me with people in the community at that church there, right? And I've just been letting people online know, hey, I'm moving back to Houston. The next thing that I am intentionally doing, also because I'm single, is I'm going to get with one of my old neighbors who lives at this place that has a really large community room. It's beautiful, parking, all the type of stuff. And because I don't want people coming to my house because I don't know people like that. And I'm going to host an event. And it's going to be for 30 people. It's going to be potluck style. Everybody bring a dish and everybody bring somebody that I should meet. Period. Somebody that, I would want to be friends with, or maybe somebody that I would want to date, right? Sounds kind of crazy, but your girl is single. I haven't been on a date in 10 years. So I'm like, the worst thing that happens is I don't get a date. The best that happens is I go on a date. Great, And so these are like big little things that I'm doing to just go, how am I going to meet people? I can be strategic in my approach to meet people, okay? But also what I will do is I will then start searching for other pockets of communities of Christians, not necessarily single Christians. That's not the goal, but I'm like, what are some of the things that are happening in Houston that are like little Bible studies or connect groups or whatever, because I don't really know which church I would want to go to. I like a more multiracial church, prophetic, all that. I don't like to be at an all white church or all black church. I'm from Kentucky, so I like to be around everybody, and so I'll start trying to go into like pockets of things to meet people with the intention of making friends and building community. And my position on community is that I don't need to go to church with you to be in community with you. I don't only want to be in community with people in my church. I don't only want to be in community with Christian entrepreneurs. I don't only want to be in community with people that are Black, that are same-sex couples, or that are heterosexual couples. I want to be in community with everybody. Right? Because I love everybody. I thrive being around everybody, right? Doesn't mean, like for example, I like being around Democrats. I like being around Republicans. I like being around husbands and husbands, wives and wives, single moms. I like to be around people who are sleeping with their partners and they're not married. Why do I want to be around them? I just love to be around people. I love to love people and I love people to love me. But also, one of the most powerful things about that is I get to come into spaces and places and be Jesus in spaces and places with people. I ain't Jesus, but I'm saying that I get to bring my little light into all different types of spaces. So if people are into things that I'm not into or I don't believe in, I still can be connected with them. I still can be friends with them. I still can sprinkle my little light. One of the things that I've learned being in communities that are like not what typical Christians would want to be in is I've just learned a new way to love. I've learned a new way to see people. I've learned a new way to minister to people. So many people find me as a person that they can trust because they don't see me as somebody that's going to tell them that they're going to hell if they don't stop doing this, this, and this. And I find safety around people that I can just be open and honest with and say, here's what's going on with me. Here's what I'm dealing with. And can you choose to love me? And it's been awesome. Like I'm in like a small little group thing. We meet once a month and it's normally like maybe 5 people, 4 or 5 people at somebody's house. Somebody cooks and we just go around talking and answering questions. And I don't know. I think maybe one person is a Christian in that group besides me. And it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. But I get to show up as me. And every time I talk, they always get a little bit more of Jesus. And I get a little bit more of people and love and humanity and these amazing humans. I get to just be friends with them. And I don't have to be it's like, you know what I'm saying? Being around my entrepreneur friends, I don't have to explain myself. Being around my prophetic friends, I don't have to explain myself. Being around my Black friends, I don't have to explain myself. Being around people that are apolitical, not Democrat or Republican, I don't have to explain myself. We get to just listen, getting around people who love TikTok, because I do, I don't have to explain myself because they get it. But I don't expect every single person that I get around to like fit into that whole box bubble. No. So when you're trying to foster community, it's really important to ask yourself, what are you looking for in community? And it's important for you not to look for all of that in one place. because you're not gonna get it. Okay, you're just not gonna get it. It reminds me of a woman looking for a husband, or a man looking for a wife. Everything that he's looking for and she's looking for, you're not gonna get it in that spouse. You're just not, because the person is human. You didn't make that person yourself. You didn't make them. God did. Okay. And God knows them, and God knows you, and how the two of y'all's likeness and differences is going to be the greatest thing. But most people would never create someone that has these differences, or that has these ways, and you're like, ugh. We're just not going to do that. We're going to create the perfect spouse. My spouse is tall. He works out. He can lift me up. He goes to exercise. He likes being on camera, but he's also humble. He's very organized, but he can handle my organized chaos. He likes cats, but doesn't have a bunch of them. Right? He has a lot of money, but he's not there's all this stuff. He loves Jesus, but perfect. There is no human being that looks like that is like that, because I'm not like that, right? And so when we're starting to foster these communities, or we're trying to develop communities, it's really important to go, what is it that I desire? Paint the whole picture, right? And then go, okay, I wonder if here's this big picture that I have that I want to experience. Is there an opportunity for me to get some of this over here, and some of this over here, and then some of this over here? And then, you have these different pockets. And when you bring your life together, you literally have everything you're looking for in the community, but it's your community that you have built. I feel like that is how you're going to foster community. Now, that does mean you have to leave the house. So a lot of us have dealt with the isolation of COVID and be inside, and we're afraid to go out. We may not even know that we're afraid to go out, but we're afraid to go out, so we don't go out. But you have to get out, okay? You have to find things and go out to places. You cannot expect everybody to invite you to everything. Sometimes you got to go and find things. Sometimes you have to go and say, hey, I see that you're doing this. Can I come too? Right? Or want to go somewhere, and then reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm thinking about going here. Would you want to go? And then, you know what I mean? And if they say no, being willing to go anyway and meet people while you're there. Is it scary? Yes. Yeah, I have an outgoing personality, but I don't like going places by myself either. I don't like showing up to places and I don't know anyone. I don't like going to networking events and nobody knows me. No, I don't care how big my personality is. I still don't want to awkwardly do it alone or by myself. But because I desire community, I desire connection and relationship, I'm willing to do some of those things that make me feel uncomfortable. They make me have to go outside, that could put me in a place where I don't know anybody, nobody talks to me. I'm willingly putting myself in these places to get exactly what it is that I want. I had a funny experience last week. So the government is talking about banning TikTok, and everybody knows I teach TikTok marketing. And so someone from a television station texts one of my friends, and which is like, hey, we're looking for somebody to come on TV and talk about TikTok ban. And she's like, well, I'm not interested, but I got a friend. She texts me and I said, I'm all in. I am there. So I got to go on the San Diego news station, which it has never happened before. And I got to get on and I got to talk about TikTok and all the things. Well, in the midst of it, there was this moment where I was like, ooh, I got a moment. And I said, mention on TV, you're single. And so I was talking to the lady about something, and I was like, yeah, because on TikTok, I watch content about this, and this, because I'm single. And, and the truth was that I was literally talking about what I watch on TikTok, but I also knew that I wanted to be strategic with, just in case somebody's watching who's interested, your girl is here. You know what I mean? But I give myself these opportunities to connect with people in whatever way possible. If nothing comes up of it, no big deal. But if something comes of it, great. Why? Because why not? Why not give myself, yourself, those opportunities of community? Okay. So don't just wait for your church to host something. Yes. Go to things that your church is hosting. Go to things that other churches are hosting, because each church has different things. There's different people and a different calling on the pastor, who's basically, laying down, here's the foundation for what we're building here, you could get to go and get other things. You know what I mean? Like the place where I'm at right now, they're not talking about entrepreneurship at all. It's more Holy Spirit type things, which is awesome, right? But also there's that entrepreneur side of me. It's like, instead of me trying to make them into, I get to go and get it somewhere else. You know what I mean? No, there's no single guys at the church, and that's fine. If I really want to go and meet other single Christians, I'll go to that other place. You know what I mean? So it's just me allowing myself to develop the community that I want. Okay. So I hope you found this episode valuable. If you did, ask me any questions you may have here in the comments on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, please write a review and subscribe to the show. I would be so grateful that you would. And also come and subscribe on YouTube. So thank you so much for listening and watching.
Thanks for listening to the You, Me, and Jesus podcast. I'm so honored and thankful that you have chosen to listen to this with us. What we would love more than anything next is for you to write a review. When you write a review on iTunes or Spotify, it actually helps the podcast be found by more people. So if you can do us a huge favor and give us 5 stars and write a review, and feel free to tell us what you loved about the episode. Thank you for being here. We're praying for you. We love you, and we pray the best for you and your life.